Hi everyone, it's Cathy Skipper from Aromanosis. Today, or this afternoon, later on, I'm going to be talking on an international online conference that's been held by a group of Brazilians on menopause as a shamanic initiation. And so, whilst I've been thinking about my work on the menopause and preparing for the conference, I thought I'd jump on here and just share a little bit with you, my YouTube subscribers, about why menopause is such an important initiation for women. So, first, I just wanted to point out, everybody really knows it, that our initiatory passages or initiation passages in life in the modern world are often neglected. So, puberty, childbirth, marriage have become, really meaningless in a lot of ways. And they don't hold the same aspect of ritual and ceremony that they do have in more earth-based cultures, in other cultures in the world, and that they did have in the world as it used to be for our ancestors. So I think that's a really important point to start with, that why do we have these initiatory rites of passage? And the reason why we have them is because ceremony and ritual speaks to the unconscious mind, the parts of ourselves that isn't in the intellect, that isn't visible, or that we're not really totally aware of, but that actually has a very powerful effect on our psyche and on our way of being in the world and moving forward in the world. So when we have an initiatory passage and we mark it with ceremony and ritual, we're telling the unconscious that this is an important moment of transformation. It's a portal. And so getting back to menopause, not only is it an initiatory rite of passage that is totally neglected, but more than that, it has over the years become a derogatory or a negative passage, something to be kept hidden, something not to be talked about, something to be talked about in a negative way or as a disease. And yes, more and more people are talking about it today, which is a great thing. We are beginning to realize that it's not the end of a woman's life. It's a passage, it's a developmental passage into something that could be actually the best portion of her life. So yes, we're talking about it, but no, I still don't think that women have enough tools and enough of a framework to really optimize this passage to what it should be. Okay, so it's an initiatory passage. It's a shamanic initiation, as I like to call it. And so one of the things that I think is important to point out is that in the modern world, women's power has been associated to their youth, to their beauty, to their ability to be fertile. And there is a power in that, but it's a very physical power. And it's something that is really linked uniquely to our physicality. It's important. It teaches us a lot. We learn a lot from it. We grow from it. But it's not the end all of a woman's reason to be here, or of her true wisdom. Okay, it gives her wisdom, but it's not the end all of her wisdom. It's part of her voyage. So I think that's one thing that's very important. And because up until menopause, our hormones, even if we don't have children, they're geared towards fertility. They're geared towards giving, being there for others, providing our bodies and our love and our care and attention to others. And that's important, and that's what the role of the feminine, to some extent, has been up until now. Now, I think, it's something that could be shared and is shared more with men, but it is linked heavily to our biological function as a woman. So then, when we get to menopause, our society still sees it as we're losing our sexuality, we're drying up, we're losing our beauty or our seduction, we're losing our ability to have children and be fertile. So we're losing our role. Who are we going to be? And even though that's not maybe said as loudly as it used to be, it's still a very strong message to women when they get to menopause. And so, obviously, biologically, menopause is marked by changes in hormones. And what I really believe, and I see with the women that I'm working with, and with myself, that the hormonal changes are not just about our bodies stopping to be fertile, they're about something else. And there's one hormonal change in particular, which is the gonotropin releasing hormone, which increases at menopause. And it doesn't work in a cycle like the estrogen and progesterone have done up till now. The gonotropin releasing hormone actually increases and stays at an increased rate from menopause onwards. And the idea, I think Christiana Northrup talked about this, but many people have talked about this in biological books about menopause as well. But the idea of this hormone increasing is that it's to do with a reset in the brain, that women become even more, in a way, psychic and intuitive during this period of menopause and onwards. So that's a sign, it's a clue in itself. Women are maturing. And when I say maturing, I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a very positive way. I believe that our true maturation, our true maturity, does come after this period of menopausal shamanic initiation. And why is that? Well, that's because up until menopause, we've lived our lives and we've experienced what we've experienced as women in the world. We've had children, we've had joyful moments, we've been married, we've been divorced, we've had abuse, we've had challenges, whatever our life has given us, we've lived them. And in a certain way, we've been subjected to them as well. They've happened to us. And what I think happens, and that I see happening for women during menopause, is that we are offered, a very precise view of our lives. In a way, somehow our psyches ask us to review, to go over our experiences, to carefully look at what's happened to us. We journal about it, we might make art about it, we talk about it. We, in a way, are invited to review. And in that reviewing, we are then asked to make certain decisions. For example, what needs to be let go of? What needs to die? What did I put value in before and now no longer is going to have value for me? We're asked to feel some of the things that we've been through, to re-feel them, or maybe even to feel them for the first time, because sometimes we block, we dissociate. When it was happening to us, it was too painful. Many women will experience their journeys of maybe sexual abuse when they were younger, or domestic violence, or challenges in any areas of their life will come up to be felt or refelt. And that refeeling isn't really, you could say, oh, you're putting a knife in the wound, and what's the point in all that? Well, there is a point, and that's where this initiation comes in. The point is that in refeeling and reliving and visualizing and going through what brought us to the point we're at, we're able to integrate and to transform those things that happen to us and our life and what our life has been up till now. We're able to transform them, and that's the journey of initiation. And in the work that I do with the Alchemy of Menopause, what I want to offer women, and what I offer women with this work, is a framework in which to do that. And the framework is the alchemical stages, which are the stages that the psyche go through continuously in our lives. What is more of an alchemical vessel than a woman's body? There is nothing. We are a living alchemical vessel. And the hormones and the hormonal changes at menopause highlight that. So if there's an alchemical vessel, like the alchemists, we need to be able to go through the different stages of transformation and purification to transform the lead into gold, to transform what was invisible, that was in our unconscious, that we're holding in our shadows, that we have not been aware of, that's been heavy for us, that's been dark for us, into light. And that's the initiation. So I use the alchemical stages in the work that I do with women to give the framework. Each woman has her story. Each woman has her life story, each woman has her tonality, her signature, her essence, and each woman has her voyage, her journey forward as well, her intentions for what she wants to become. What type of wise elder is her, what type of wise elder is she calling to be, is calling her? Sorry, I'm not putting that right. What I'm trying to say is that when we go into this journey of initiation of menopause, we need to have motivations and desires and focus. Where am I heading to? I know that I was heading to a place where I could finally put to rest the traumas from childhood and young adulthood and write the story of my ancestral journey, which was really the core wound of my mother line. That was where I was, that was the sort of transformation, and that would enable me to become a wise elder where I belong to myself, where I'm no longer subjugated to these traumas coming from the unconscious. So we have to be clear of where we're going, and once we have that intention and that motivation, we can use the framework that I propose in the Alchemy of Menopause, in which to work through the things that come up and to allow. It gives us something to, it's a vessel in itself. Our body is the vessel, and by adding the framework, we're strengthening the vessel. We're giving the vessel signposts. We're giving the vessel strength to put up with the fire. We're giving the vessel the ability to distill certain things, to integrate things, to process, to feel. And all that is laid out in the 9-month journey that is the Alchemy of Menopause on the aromaGnosis.com website. And there's also a workbook that's available on Amazon that's called The Alchemy of Menopause if women want to work through that themselves. So really, I think that's what I wanted to say today. I just wanted to talk a little bit. Yeah, I think let's end there. I always say to my students, which type of woman do you want, or what old woman do you want to become? We've all seen the old lady with the twinkle in her eye, just sitting there silently, watching and observing, and she's anchored and she belongs to herself, and she's authentic. And as younger women, she was the older woman you wanted to sit next to. Even if she didn't say anything, you wanted to feel her, because she had transformed her experiences and she was holding them as wisdom. She was wise. She was a wise elder. And then there's the other old woman that, everybody sees coming, think, get out of the way. She's going to moan. She's going to say everything's wrong. Nothing's right. She's just going to be that negative old lady. And unfortunately for that lady, she hasn't gone through the initiation of menopause. She hasn't lived the shamanic passage of what it is to transform ourselves. And so she's stuck moaning about the things because she hasn't been able to integrate them. She's still subjected to them. That's the difference. When we are able to transform and integrate and transform our life's experiences into wisdom, they no longer have an effect on us. They're a gift to us. Before we're subjugated to them. They happen to us. We have to put up with them. We have to support them. We have to get through them. But the initiation of menopause enables them to become the gift of being able to hold space for others, the gift of understanding, the gift of wisdom, the gift of knowing what those experiences meant in terms of inner learning and self-realization. And that's what the old woman who's always moaning and nobody wants to see hasn't done. So she's still subjected to them. She's still a victim of her own experience. Okay, so lots of love, and join us on aromagnosis.com. Come and have a look at the Alchemy of Menopause online class. We meet every month as well via Zoom on the class, so we have some live contact, and the rest is done through a 9-month journey that I send you every week. Or get the workbook if you want to work in it on yourself. And I am writing a book that should be out next year called Menopause, a Shamanic Initiation. Lots of love.